Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC Vegas 49. Welcome to the brand new Pat Mayo experience, our Mayo Media Network studios. Obviously, I'm here. My boy Hezbollah in the back. Cody Saftik is on the line with us. He's on the big screen behind us as well. Obviously, we've stepped up the game here. We're working out the kinks, the audio, some of the lighting and stuff. I just thought about it right now. We were doing golf shows earlier. We have green lights on the desks. It's probably something I would change, but we're rolling now. We're into it. Cody, how are you doing? Obviously, we're coming off of a pretty good week. Last week, I was busy doing a bunch of this stuff, so I didn't get heavily invested in a bunch of plays, but both plays that I posted came through. You had, the top three lines of your parlays hit. Good times had by all.
Good times had by all. That's the second straight UFC that we've done well in. And overall, knock on wood, about the last 3 weeks overall for MMA betting have been quite glorious. In a new studio now, moving on up. And the MMA gods reward us with a terrible looking card, Paul. My God. Very greasy, tons of trap spots. But that's why I'm happy to be joined by you so we can figure them out together.
Bro, after last week's card, this doesn't look
this is worse, man.
This doesn't look so bad from an entertainment standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
From a talent level standpoint, this is a pretty good card. We're getting like Stockholm Syndrome, basically, from some of the UFC cards. I mean, the Walker versus Hill, like that maybe, it's up there with the Paddy Holohan card back in Ireland when somebody dropped out last second. Like that was really, really low-level stuff. I mean, obviously, RDA had to pull out. We've got Islam Makhachev taking on Bobby King Green. Green coming in on incredible short notice. Props to him, taking the fight that nobody really wants to take in the lightweight division right now. Islam is a minus 900 favor. Bobby Green can be had for plus 600. We talk about Bobby Green all the time. I bet Bobby Green 2 weeks ago. He delivered. He did great. When we start talking about Habib, the family lineage and the guys that Habib, really focuses his energy on, Makhachev is one of those guys. He's probably the best of all of those guys. The grappling is on a whole different level. Bobby's got to come into this fight with I got to kill this guy before he gets me to the mat, because if it gets me to the mat, I may not be able to get back up. I think Bobby Green is going to come in guns a-blazing in this fight. Wrestling is good. Grappling's good. He's very, very good in most situations. Obviously, he's met his match here against Islam Makhachev at 160 pounds. They're doing it at a catch weight, which kind of makes sense considering that Bobby Green's coming in on short notice. I'm kind of tempted, Cody, to wait and see how wide this line gets, and then maybe just sprinkle on Bobby Green a little bit. I was watching Adriano Martins before I came to the studio. Adriano Martins versus Makhachev, and Makhachev is totally different. Like the way that he entered the pocket in that fight, it's like he doesn't do that anymore. Like against Dan Hooker, he was a lot more reserved, waits for the perfect time, get to those. Once he gets onto your hips, gets you up against the cage, I mean, you're pretty much going for a ride. He's so much better at finding those spots these days. But we're looking at a minus 900 plus 600. Bobby Green by knockout is going to be like 8 to 1 or so. Like eventually as the week goes along, it may not be crazy. Like MMA sometimes is going to MMA. Do I think Makhachev's going to win? Yes. Do I know that he's going to return value at the minus 900? I'm not so sure. So for me, based on the odds, it's a dogger pass. I'm sure that he'll be on your parlay, on your parlay's top ticket. But Bobby Green offers a very, very easy hedge out at the end of the night. That's where I'm guessing you are.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, when we got Makhachev earlier in the week, like minus 700, that felt like, well, 650, 700, that's as good as it's going to get. I'm a little bit surprised that it has swelled out to minus 900 at this point, because now you're completely writing off Bobby Green. And sure, it's an MMA fight. Sure, he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve, namely his volume. Volume would be the name of the game for him. Bobby Green just throws a hectic pace. When you look at a lot of people think he won the Thiago Moises fight. You and I both included. We both had him bet that night as well. But he gets kind of cheated on the judges' scorecards. His 3 fights since then, the Rafael Fiziev fight, he lands 143 significant strikes on a very defensively sound fighter in Rafael Fiziev. Solid work. Ally Quinta, I mean, he hit him 28 times in less than half of a round. Less than half of one single round. It almost landed 30 significant strikes to that point. And then, of course, his last fight against Nasrat Haqparast, career high 188. So with Makhachev, he gets takedowns. We know the guy can wrestle, but he's not super high on punch output. He's not super high on volume. So if Bobby Green can make it, entertaining enough, close enough with stand-up, win some exchanges with a stand-up, try to get some volume going, then even when he does get taken down, you're just hoping that some judge looks at it like, oh, well, Bobby Green landed 20 significant strikes standing, and Makhachev got 2 takedowns, but maybe didn't do enough with it. That's what you're looking for. But listen, man, I like Islam Makhachev. I like him a lot. He's just like your boy Khabib Nurmagomedov. I wouldn't say he's Khabib 2.0, but he fights a very similar style, and that's a winning style. That's a style that we love. You talk about the fact that he got clipped once upon a time by Adriano Martins. The fight's in like October 2015. When you look at Bobby Green since the same date, October 15, decision against Magomedov, decision against Venata, decision against Koch, decision against Close, decision against Trinaldo, decision against Clay Guida, decision against Venata in the rematch, decision against Alan Patrick, decision against Thiago Moises, decision against Rafael Fiziev, knocks out Ally Quinta. I suppose this guy's a magical power puncher all of a sudden, and then decision over Nasrat Haqparast. So could you clip Islam Makhachev? Sure. Is Bobby Green going to be the guy that clip him? I don't know. I don't think so. It's not really a power puncher per se.
No.
So now let's look at other avenues for Bobby Green. Well, the guy looks like he can fight 5 rounds because the way he fights 3 rounds, it seems like there's a lot left over in the gas tank for him. But Makhachev, to me, proved that in the Thiago Moises fight, because that was my only question mark going into that one. Was it's a 5-round fight. It's a scheduled 5. So how is he going to be able to? Is he like Khabib? Can he just grind at this pace for 10 rounds if he needs to? Is he like a George St. Pierre? Can he go 15, 20 rounds if he needs to? I don't know. That's his first time, and he dominates the first 3 and then chokes Moises out in the 4th. Pretty solid work as far as I'm concerned. Wins over Dan Hooker, wins over Drew Dober. That's actually more impressive than any of the wins that Bobby Green has picked up. I'll admit his Rafael Fiziev fight's incredibly impressive. Did not win that fight, though. So, honestly, Makhachev comes in here. He shoots the takedowns. He shoots them early and often. He gets them on Bobby Green. He gives him an old-fashioned grinding. He either, softens him up with the ground and pound to find the submission, or he just rinse and repeats over the course of 25 minutes. If you can only do it for 3 rounds and then go on defense mode, well, that's still probably okay, because, again, Bobby Green, not really one of these guys that's going to knock you out. Bobby also just landed 188 2 weeks ago. So I'm not saying his hands are sore and this and that, but, sure to God, his body's a little bit sore. They're good dangling a nice little paycheck in front of him, and Bobby Green's a company guy. What's he got to lose? 3-fight winning streak. He's doing the UFC a favor. It's a headlining attraction against a guy that's probably going to challenge for a belt in the foreseeable future. It's all good for business. I just think stylistically it favors Makhachev heavily.
Oh, huge.
Here's the last thing I want to throw on there. Yeah, the last thing I want to throw on is Bobby Green took that grappling match against Shane Shapiro right after the Ally Quinta fight, prior to the Nasrat Haqparast fight in the UFC Invitational grappling tournament. You can watch it on Fight Pass. Shane Shapiro, BJJ black belt, and he's also one of the coaches at Syndicate MMA, but he just makes light work of him in like a minute with a knee bar. You got a good realization there that there are levels to this, and Bobby Green, an excellent MMA fighter, but it didn't translate to an excellent grappler. Makhachev, one of these guys that the way he Kimura Dan Hooker in one single round like that, the way he thrashed on Drew Dober opening up the arm triangle, even Thiago Moises is a BJJ black belt and a high-level IBJJF competitor, and he dominates him for 3, puts him away in the 4th. Grappling really seems to be good for this guy, and of course he's got big brother Khabib in his corner, so 9-1's not a great price tag, but it's not enough for me to just suddenly throw my pick out the window. So you're right, top ticket material, and at the end of the night would be so easy to put a couple hundred on Bobby Green, and to make, at that point you could probably make $1,200, for a $200 bet on Bobby Green. It'd be the easiest hedge out in the world, right?
The line continues to grow, and all I'm saying is 11. It's plus 1,100 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Green by knockout. If he's going to win, I feel like it's a situation where he clips him. He gets the knockout. The longer this fight goes, eventually Islam's going to get him to the ground. And when he gets him to the ground, there's pretty much not a man on earth at 155 pounds that's going to do anything to stop that pressure. I'm just saying, if you were going to bet green, 11-1, it's probably the way to go about it. Let's move on down. We've got a middleweight contest between Misha Cirkunov and Wellington Turman. -120 Cirkunov, +100 for Turman. Went back and watched Cirkunov versus Jotko. Wasn't a great performance. I wonder how the weight cut was going down to 185 pounds for the first time in that matchup for Misha. This seems like a pretty good matchup for him, though. Wellington Turman doesn't have like game-changing knockout power in his hands. I believe he doesn't even have any like straight flash knockouts on his record in general. Wrestling between the two of these guys is probably going to be negated. Turman does throw a little bit more volume. Misha maybe hits a little bit harder. I'm leaning towards Cirkunov, but both of these guys are very, very chinny. It's really interesting that but both of them they're taking on an opponent that probably can't exploit it. I actually did parlay with Mousasi on the Bellator card. I parlayed the over 1.5 in this with Mousasi. I think it came out to like +128, just a small play. I wanted to get in on sweet and sassy Mousasi, and I feel like 1.5 rounds, even though it's a little bit juiced to -170. I feel like that has a pretty good chance of hitting in this fight. What's your take here?
Yeah, I agree. I actually did mind Wellington Turman as an underdog play, but now I see that the line's kind of evening up a little bit. It was -150 Cirkunov, now it's like -120 Cirkunov. So yeah, I think people are also recognizing Turman dog money. But once you get it to even status, listen, greasy fight could go both ways. Absolutely. It's also not the original opponent for either guy. Wellington Turman was supposed to fight Rodolfo Vieira. Vieira pulls out of the fight due to medical reasons, so he gets thrown in here against Misha, who is scheduled to take on Makhmud Muradov, right? And both of those guys would have been the B-side to their original opponents, and now they're matched up with each other. You nailed it on the head when you said they're both chinny in the sense that Wellington Turman, I will give any man on this planet, any weight class, I'll give any animal on this planet a pass on losing by KO to Bruno Silva because the dude just hits so goddamn hard.
For sure.
But Andrew Sanchez, come on.
Yeah, Sanchez didn't even have to wrestle.
No, he didn't even wrestle. And that's like the only thing he's good at. No cardio. Good wrestler. Yeah, everything he threw hit Turman clean on the button. So yeah, I would say he's definitely is a chinny fighter. On the flip side of that, you got Misha Cirkunov. He's been fighting some heavy hitters because he was fighting at 205 pounds. So you give him some passes as well, but knocked out in 1:11 against Ryan Spann, knocked out in 36 seconds against Johnny Walker, knocked out in 2:45 against Glover Teixeira, knocked out in 28 seconds against Volkan Oezdemir. No, he's chinny, 100%. Doesn't even matter that he's fighting such good guys. He gets finished so quickly against those good guys. He can't really take a great punch. So you're right. Both guys are chinny, but who'd you give the striking advantage to? I would give it to Wellington Turman. One, he does have the better volume, but he does come from that shoot-to-box background, and he throws a lot of leg kicks. He sits down on the leg kicks. He'll throw them. He'll stand in range. I think he's got a little bit better movement. He's a little more aggressive than Misha. And one thing about Misha Cirkunov is his game has just never developed to a level of I can strike with guys. He's never been able to strike with guys. There's no fights in his career and where he's gone out there and put on even a decent striking performance. So this drop down to 185 in the Krzysztof Jotko fight, it's like, okay, now finally he's not taking on a monster of a man. He'll be the monster of a man. How does he do from that, right? Stands in a southpaw stance, and almost everything he does is with his lead right hand. Jabs, he hooks, he paws, he slaps, almost nothing of substance. He'll throw up a head kick every now and again, but it's like kind of herky-jerky. You can kind of see it coming. I just don't see enough out of his striking. In fact, that fight with Krzysztof Jotko, it's all him backing Jotko up, trying to clinch him and take him down, which he's largely unable to do. When he does take him down, Jotko gets right back up. And when Jotko just pushes him away and separates him, he's not doing much, but the leg kicks are landing, and he blitzes him with a hand combination every now and again to keep him honest. When you score that thing, because online, even those live tweets going into the third, a lot of people had it 1-1. I did it. I had Misha Cirkunov losing the first 2 rounds to Krzysztof Jotko. I thought he lost the third round to Krzysztof Jotko. I thought he lost 30-27 pretty clean across the board. Wasn't all that competitive to me. And beyond all that, he really did struggle to get his wrestling going. So here's my thing with Wellington Turman. He's got that little bit of a striking advantage, but he himself is kind of a bit of a grappler. He likes to force clinches. He likes to throw the guy to the ground. All this and that. Not great at work. But his last fight against Sam Alvey, okay, comes out in the first round, all over Sam Alvey, landing the better strikes, backs him up against the cage, scores a takedown over Alvey, which is not exactly an easy thing to do, and he pokes Alvey in the eye. So they give him a warning. Fair. Second round, he comes out, he kicks the crap out of Sam Alvey. and grazes him in the eye with an eye poke. Now the third round he comes out, he loses a point due to an eye poke, proceeds to beat on Sam Alvey, loses a second point due to an eye poke, and then still wins the fight. They got it on a split decision because two of the judges had it 30-27, but he lost 2 points. So greasy fight, but there's a minute and a half left. He just lost the second point, and he just goes right after Sam Alvey. His cardio looked good, and he fought a good pace in that fight. And that's what brings me back to, he's 25 years old. So he's made some struggles in the octagon. He's made some mistakes. But he's actually really, really young and picking up a decent amount of experience. The result doesn't look great against Sam Alvey, who's a very limited fighter, by the way. But that's a better version of him that you saw. And then this fight with Misha, even if Misha takes him down and doesn't submit him early, the kid's gas tank's going to be better. His striking's going to be better. I'm not entirely sure that Misha just takes him down whenever he wants. And last but not least, dude, this guy trains full-time with Glover Teixeira in Connecticut, right?
Yep.
He got Big Daddy Glover on him 100% of the time.
Glover's getting ready for a title fight.
Yeah, dude. And not only that, Glover's game is just so perfectly well-rounded. Like, this kid's going to get the rub off him, first of all. And second of all, everybody and their mother was talking about how good Misha's grappling is. This guy's grappling is next level. You know, he comes out here, breaks Alex Nicholson's jaw. He gets the submission victory over Jolly. Low-level shit, by the way. But when he ran into Glover, do you remember that? It was like, oh, dude, Misha's got a better ground game. It's like, oh, no, he does not. When Glover got on top of him, it was a full-grown man versus a small child. Non-competitive, was an absolute washout, and Glover gets the first round finish in less than, it was about like half a round. He puts Misha away. Sure to God, he knows this guy inside and out, and he's going to have his prodigy ready to the task. Cardio is the name of the game, and Glover's known for his cardio. He's got a similar striking style to Glover. He actually fights a poor man's version of Glover, but he's only 25 years old. And Misha, his birthday's Sunday after the fights. He'll be 35 years old, right? So I don't think he's getting any better. In fact, he spends most of his time at Drysdale BJJ, not at Extreme Couture. He's mostly working on his jiu-jitsu. If he picks up a first-round sub, great. But have we seen anybody sub Wellington Turman on the first round? No. So yeah, I got Turman. And if for whatever reason I'm gonna have a look at the live betting odds as well. If Cirkunov fights a good round, maybe does get a takedown, maybe controls him up against the cage, but does not get the first round finish, I'm live betting Wellington Turman because Misha's gas tank's only just gonna fall apart. It does in every fight. And the Jocko fight's a perfect example.
He did okay.
He gets a takedown in the first, the beginning of the round.
The first half of round 3 against Jocko, it wasn't that bad. Like
so if you watch it,
like he got him down. He had a bit of top control. Around the 250 mark, they get back to their feet. Wasn't ideal, but like I don't know. I'm not sure. Wellington definitely does have the better cardio. I guess it makes sense where you're coming from.
Yeah, I see. What I saw in the Misha fight, the third round, he comes out, he gets the takedown, he presses him. He's got like a back take almost, right? And he lands a couple knees to the thigh. But he's so concerned on hands around the waist and clinging onto him. He doesn't land anything. It's not striking. He's clinging onto him, hoping this is the end of the fight. And they're mentioning like, oh, he's going to try to flatten him out here. You know, oh, he's going to try to take his back. He couldn't. This guy is supposed to be next level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He got the position he wanted and actually couldn't do shit with it. So yeah, I would be personally worried for him. And again, when you're looking for underdog spots, this is probably going to be close. Could be competitive. Could definitely go either way. I'm getting plus money on Wellington Turman. That would be my first underdog of this card.
That's fair enough. All right, maybe we got another undercard in the chamber here. We've got Ji-Yoon Kim taking on my girl Cab, catch a beating, Priscila Cachoeira, minus 165 Kim, plus 145 Cab. Kim has very, very long arms. Very long reach. Can't wrestle whatsoever. This feels kind of winnable for my girl Cab. Now, that being said, you go back and you watch the Luana-Carolina fight. Carolina throws a lot more kicks, I suppose, than Ji-Yoon Kim, but that would probably be a stereotype for how, or a way that this fight could play out. Catch a beating, doesn't get taken down, but still loses because Kim can go. She can go 3 rounds, no problem. Her volume is definitely high. My girl Cab likes blocking punches with her face. The chin checks out for Kim. It's dog or pass as far as I'm concerned. In this fight. I'll lean towards Cab. I'm not betting it, I don't think, though. What about you?
Okay, so last week we had a great week, but I went 0 for 2 on the women's MMA fights. And looking at the ones in this card, I could see it going the same way. So whatever I say, you don't necessarily have to agree with. But winnable fight for Cachoeira. She's going to come forward. She's going to sling hammers, and that style has actually yielded success against Kim in the past. So you could definitely see it working if you can back her up, keep her honest, and just put the pressure on her throughout. Yeah, it could work, but yeah, I'm not 100% seeing it. First and foremost, by the exact numbers, because they're both 5'7", right? Priscila Cachoeira has a 65-inch reach. Yeon Kim has a 72-inch reach. So
Kim doesn't hit hard enough to get Cab off of her though. Cab's going to be coming forward, just walking right through those jabs.
Right, and Molly McCann, who was giving up a 10-inch reach advantage, had no problems finding the target. Was able to back her up. Was able to walk right through the reach advantage and able to have a lot of success. But I wasn't necessarily all that disappointed with what I saw at Kim. I mean, there was a point where she was a write-off, but let's just talk about her last two. So the Alexa Grasso fight, I thought she looked pretty good. In the first round, she wins the first 3-4 minutes of the round. Grasso comes back pretty tight in the last minute. It's a very competitive first round. Second and third round, Grasso takes over, but like you could see something out of her. She's got good striking. She makes good decisions in there. She's got good footwork. She's also like defensively sound, but she did get lit up by Grasso. She gets an invite right after that from the people in Vegas, like Eric Nixick and all them. They're like, you should come down to Las Vegas. We think we could really work with you. And then she gets the Molly McCann fight. Though she loses that fight, she looked career best in my opinion. She landed 122 significant strikes, which is over 42 significant strikes more than her previous best. Her volume was on point. Defensively, she looked pretty good. She scored a knockdown in the first round over Molly McCann. Cardio looked pretty decent in the third round. It was all a step in the right direction. 32 years old, probably not going to have huge upside here, but moving down to Vegas certainly would help her. When Cachoeira, meanwhile, I went back and I watched the Luana fight just like you did. Why? Because Shayna Dobson fight, it's only 40 seconds. And Gina Mazzani, she's so gassed after 4 minutes. She's toppling over. Referee stand-up definitely helped Cachoeira there as well. And Jillian Robertson, she just got taken down, tried to eye gouge her and got subbed. How does she look beyond like the first round or two? In the Carolina fight, volume just escaped her big time. Her technique is awful, Paul. She's tough. She'll come forward. But I mean, she just swings wild ass hooks coming on a straight line, doesn't cut off the ring, doesn't gauge the distance very much, and then gasses herself out. Carolina takes over. First round's actually competitive. Second and third round, you just see Cachoeira completely gas out. And I would like to think that her versus Kim's going to be trying to matador from the outside, not going to have a great deal of success going with it. But if she can keep up that volume, especially the volume that she had in her last two fights, I think eventually she takes over in the fight with Cachoeira. But of course, none of this matters because it's women's MMA. It's a Priscila Cachoeira fight. And you should probably just spam dog money bets. Pat told us a long time ago. I should have listened. I should have just listened to him. Bro. Right. They're all dog or pass situations. All of them. All of them dog or pass situations. So if you're light for underdogs on this card, you could probably do worse than Priscila Cachoeira. I won't lie.
Cab inside the distance is like plus 400.
I know.
That may be something. That may be. Yeah, I know. It's pretty. I mean, I did bet her against.
You've made money doing.
I've made money doing
I
it.
Haven't. I
well, it's because you took like Gina Mazzani at like minus 250 against her. You gotta.
Gina was looking good early, man.
You gotta play the Pat Mayo special sometimes. It's just when in doubt, if it's even remotely close, you just take the dog money. Because who knows?
Bad way of doing it.
I mean, Kim just doesn't really have the power, and like shit, the wins that she does have in the UFC, Nadia Kassem, Melinda Fabian, Justine Keys, she's in Bellator now, so.
And like, awful, and it was another split.
And yeah, it was, and she should have lost that fight. So
100%.
I wouldn't be laying the wood with Kim if she ends up on your parlays.
That's fair.
I imagine she's gonna be right near the bottom. All right, moving on down, we've got I think is the best matchup on the entire card. Arman Tsarukyan takes on Joel Alvarez, minus 225 Tsarukyan, plus 185 for Alvarez. Who you got here, buddy?
Yeah, so I think the sky's the limit for Arman Tsarukyan. I love everything about him. I think he should go out there and put a great performance on. And then, like, this is what I do to myself. I always get in my own head. What could go wrong? Where's the issue? And, like, this is the only thing that's kind of got me bugged out. So his last fight against Christos Giagos, dude, he looked, his last two fights, Matt Frivola, 10 takedowns. Matt Frivola's in a room every day with Murad Dvalishvili and Aljamain Sterling. The guy knows how to wrestle. He just goes out there and ragdolls them. I mean, I thought that was some pretty solid work. And then his very next fight, he picks up his first stoppage in the UFC with a first round KO of Christos Giagos. He partially lands a head kick and then just puts him away with a short little left hook. Tight, good, training full time at American Top Team. Right, this is a great move for him. He also likes to split some time with Tiger Muay Thai, where he trains with Rafael Fiziev. So he's unable to get a visa for like the last 8 weeks. So he abandoned camp at American Top Team for this fight and has done it in Russia. James Lynch did a pretty good interview with him. I suggest you go check it out if you would like to. And straight up, James is just like, well, who's your head coach? And he's like, oh, his name's Sergey. He's good. He's from my hometown. He's like, well, who are some of your training partners? And he's like, nobody that fights on like outside of Russia, but like a couple good up and comers. But it's my hometown. I feel good. I'm eating well. It's like, shit, dude. I like him at ATT. I like him in a room with the best guys in the world. And I bet you this room in Russia is tough. I bet you it's tough. No room in Russia, unless it's in Sochi, Russia, is easy work. It's not. So he's gonna be good. It's like it's just that little bit of extra confidence you want.
Why are you throwing shade at Sochi of all places? I just wanted to, before you continue, because you said except for Sochi.
Okay, yeah. So Sochi and Moscow. If the guy's fighting out of Sochi, Russia, or Moscow, Russia, it's the city, right? They're not from Chechnya. They're not from Dagestan. They're not from.
Sochi's nowhere near Moscow.
No, it's not. It's not. But Moscow's a large metropolitan city in Russia, right? Which it would be like.
You're basically saying
right?
that they're probably Sochi, more like striking based, not like heathen wrestlers.
No, it's the difference between like country boys and like privileged city kid. Paul, you grew up a city kid, so I can't throw too much shade here. But
not really. I'm more of the burbs. I grew up in the burbs.
The burbs. Yeah, you're from Oshawa. You're blue collar as hell. What am I talking about? I would have dropped an F-bomb there, real Oshawa style, but I didn't want to.
Are we allowed to say the S word for your TV network? Because I dropped one, you dropped one.
Yeah, no. I think F-bombs and like
just F-bombs. Crude. No F-bombs. Okay. So far so good.
Right. Use your best judgment, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Sochi. I'm told. I've never been there, but my late great friend Tim Hag had been there. It's like the Miami of Russia. Like they got beaches there. It's like warm weather. It's the city, man. It's like a vacation destination inside of Russia.
Soft.
They're soft, man. You want to go to Ingushetia, right? Those are the places you want to go. The mountains where these guys are just like, there's quite literally nothing to do other than beat somebody up. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and go do. There's no arts and crafts program offered at the local university. Give your head a shake, Paul. So, yeah, Tsarukyan being in Russia, whatever, it's not going to be a bad look, right? It's just that I have a lot of respect for Joel Alvarez and what he's able to do, and I'd like to know that Tsarukyan's at the top of his game because the takedowns are going to be there day in, day out. But Alvarez is going to be throwing up a lot of submissions, and Tsarukyan's got to be on top of his game. At ATT, there's a ton of BJJ world champions in the room with you. They're going to be testing you. You're going to be working on that grappling. Over in Russia, you're the top dog. You're the best guy in your small little camp in your hometown. Well, they're not going to give you what Joel Alvarez might give you. Speaking of the takedowns, though, his fight with Danilo Belluardo, he gives up 2 real easy takedowns, but does ground and pound him in the second. Joe Duffy, I think he gave the takedown to Joe Duffy to set up the guillotine choke.
He loves doing that. He
just kind of flopped over. He does, yeah. It's one of his setup tricks. I don't think you want to pull guillotine against Armen Tsarukyan.
No.
Unless you really got it, dude. The Yakovlev fight, again, he gets taken down and then he throws up an armbar. It's great work. I don't necessarily know that you want to play with your food on the ground with Joel Alvarez. He's good, but he's giving them all up. And then Thiago Moises, what a bad game plan from Thiago Moises. Didn't even shoot a takedown. This guy's a BJJ black belt, former world champion. Why would you not take him down and just neutralize his ground game? No, instead he allowed himself to stay to the outside. And Alvarez has been working on his striking, dude. Those are some nasty elbows. He just busts his head open like a pumpkin, and then the referee stops the fight. So I like what I see out of Joel Alvarez, but he's got a lot of these fights that are second round against Belluardo, first round against Duffy, first round against Yakovlev, first round against Moises. Well, and so we know he can fight for a round, but can he fight hard for 3? Because I know Tsarukyan can, and the takedowns are going to be Tsarukyan's way. Tsarukyan, has he ever been submitted? Not to my knowledge.
I mean, man, I went
rounds against Islam Makhachev.
I went back and watched the Davi Ramos fight. That's a pretty
ADCC competitor.
Interesting fight for how is his submission defense. Now, He only took him down once, and it was at the beginning of round 1. But when he does do it, he stayed completely out of trouble and was landing some really good strikes from top position. And then rounds 2 and 3, he was like, I can just dance around the outside. This guy can't cut off the angles on me. And he tripled him up basically in strikes. He just really, if he does go in for those takedowns, he's really got to be careful with his head placement as he shoots into the hips against Alvarez, because Alvarez sets up that guillotine so nice. On top of it, Alvarez is 6'3". He's missed weight the last 2 times. He came in at 157.5 last time out, 159.5 the time before. I mean, he's basically a catchweight fighter at this point. We'll see. I think he should definitely wait for weigh-ins on this one, but I think Tsarukyan should be able to dance around him, land. The speed should be a massive advantage for him, but we're dealing with a 6'3" fighter versus a 5'7" fighter here. If you want to get on Alvarez, I think you get on him now, because once people see them standing next to each other at the weigh-ins, I imagine there's going to be some late dog money. If you want to bet Tsarukyan, I think we're going to get a better price later in the week. My pick is Tsarukyan by decision. I think he does mind his P's and Q's. I think he lands the more effective strikes. Somebody else brought up that Alvarez's striking looked really, really improved, and I kind of agree with that. But Michael Johnson against Thiago Moises outstruck him 25-1 in round 1. People forget about that. They see the second round submission, but it's Michael Johnson put on a damn clinic in round 1 against him. So I wouldn't read it into it too much. I still think Arman's the better striker. He's going to have to mind his P's and Q's entering the pocket. When he does take him down, just head position. Head position is everything, but he's already showed that against Davi Ramos. He knew all of the ways that he could get himself in trouble and avoided all of it. So Tsarukyan by decision for me. What's your final pick?
Yeah, I would go with Cirkunov by decision as well. Use the wrestling to either put him down when you want, or just neutralize him, keep the fight standing, back him up, land the combination. So I think we're pretty much on the same page. But he won't be top ticket or top second ticket likely, because there's just that little bit of hesitancy about him taking on a crafty enough guy in Alvarez. Oh, by the way, here's the last thing I want to throw out.
We respect Alvarez. We think he's very, very good.
At this
price right now, I would probably take Alvarez if I was going to bet it, but I think later in the week we will get a better price on Armen, because it's been moving that way. It opened up at minus 300, and it's been creeping down over the course of the week.
And you mentioned Joel Alvarez missed weight his last 2 fights, and Tsarukyan actually missed weight 2 fights ago, and Matt Frivola came at 57, right? So, I mean, maybe you want to watch the weigh-ins. Maybe you want to just be 100% sure what you're getting yourself into.
All right, we got Gregory Robocop Rodriguez taking on Armen Petrosyan. Not that Armen Petrosyan, not Giorgio Petrosyan's brother. Completely different guy. Rodriguez is a minus 160 favorite. Petrosyan could be had for plus 140. We've learned, or we've been told, and he actually showed it in his last fight out there, that we've got a BJJ black belt on our hands, but he seems to really like to bang on his feet. Gregory Rodriguez. Obviously, last time out against Jung Young Park, there's 2 takedowns. There's one, I believe it's in round 1, and then there's a beautiful, beautiful judo hip toss in round 2. And the positional control and stuff on top position looked legit. This guy's supposed to be a legitimate black belt. His chin is definitely a little bit questionable, but I have questions about Armen Petrosyan's chin as well. He was knocked out in 34 seconds by some very mediocre European level fighter. I forget the name off the top of my head. If you're Gregory Rodriguez, the path of least resistance in this fight is take this guy who is a kickboxer, but not an accredited. He's not Giorgio Petrosyan's brother. So we're not talking about that level of kickboxing. Take him down and use your size strength. This guy's absolutely massive, Gregory Rodriguez. Take him down, control him, find the sub. I threw a little sprinkle because I was worried that the number's going to get away from me. Rodriguez by submission, plus 400. I feel like if he has a smart corner, a smart team behind him, we're not testing our own chin, which he got rocked against Jung Young Park. last time out. Like it was dicey until he finished the Iron Turtle. He was the first guy to ever knock him out. So obviously he's got some power in his hands, but like it was getting real dicey there in round 2. So take this guy down. Take him down immediately. Do not let him hit your chin. Find the submission. You should be able to take care of business. What's your take here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot easier said than done. I'm going to take the underdog here, Armen Petrosyan, plus 140. I think he's got a good chance. He's got a good chance of finding the chin and knocking him out, 100%. You mentioned that he's not Giorgio, the surgeon's brother, but that's fine because this guy's actually got really good striking. He's very opportunistic, likes to sit down on that right hook, got a really good leg kick, almost like he's kicking a soccer ball, but it's quick, it's snappy, likes to put pressure on guys. There's a lot that you could like about his game, right? So let's look at his last fight on The Ultimate Fighter, right? He's taking on this Kaloyan Kolev. Now, he's coming from a pure Muay Thai background, and Kolev's like a Bulgarian wrestling powerhouse. Like, he's a big, strong wrestler.
Fought nobody.
Total cans.
Absolutely.
I'm leading up to that. Total cans. 100%. 100%. He's just a really strong Bulgarian guy that had fought limited opposition. And with Petrosyan, it's like he's just a Muay Thai guy from Armenia. He's going to get beat up. But there's actually 2 different types of Armenian people, right? The ones that come to California and go to Glendale and make nothing of their careers, and the ones that go to Russia and become absolute badasses. And this Petrosyan decided to do that. He actually trains full-time out of Dagestan, and he's been working a lot on his wrestling. So you watch that Kolev fight. Kolev does take him down 3 times, but I was massively impressed with his get-up game, dude. He fights the wrist, he fights the bicep, he creates space, he circles out, he pushes you away. Another takedown, pops right back up. He just wore on him, and every small chance he had to throw strikes, he bombed on Kolev. Kolev eventually just couldn't take it, succumbs from it, falls over. But it was like, goddamn, dude's 31 years old, he's long, he's rangy, he hits like an absolute hammer, and he's clearly worked very heavily on his grappling game. Gregory Rodriguez, oh yeah, and by the way, here's the real kicker. Those fights are all at 205 pounds. He got knocked out that time you mentioned at 205. He fought Kolev on The Ultimate Fighter, or on Contenders at 205. This is 185. Dude's going to be a monster. He's going to be huge at 185. He's not going to
be that much.
Good already. Go ahead.
He's taking on Gregory Rodriguez, who's 6 foot. Gregory Rodriguez is an inch taller than him. And have you seen Gregory Rodriguez?
So jacked.
Like, you literally can't put more muscle on a 185-pound frame.
Right. But what I'm seeing in my head here is that Kolev's a big, strong, physical Bulgarian guy at 205 pounds and was not able to really get him down with any much success. The guy looked like he had been working a lot on his grappling, predominantly his takedown defense. So with Rodriguez, you're 100% right in that Rodriguez needs to get the takedowns early and often. But he did in his last fight. He was able to go out there against Jung Young Park and get a takedown. In fact, he gets a back take off it. And Park survives, and Park gets back up. And there becomes the next critical problem about Rodriguez. Instead of just pursuing the takedowns again, he just stood there and banged with him, man. He got clipped by a short left hook that rocked him. Park fought the world's stupidest game plan. He's giving up reach, and he's just throwing rock'em sock'em robots 2 inches too far from Rodriguez. So Rodriguez is him. He's actually not connecting on Rodriguez. But the dude just reverted to just striking. And he gets a takedown. He gets the takedown he wants. And Park just gets right back up again. And then Park just rushes right at him recklessly and gets himself knocked out. It was a terrible fight for Park, terrible game plan. But there's no denying that Rodriguez's cardio looked iffy, his chin looked iffy. And when the fight did hit the ground and he got the back take and he got all of his favorite positions, he didn't do anything.
I'm not convinced that Petrosyan's going to be able to do
anything.
Then
he goes on.
I think that the Iron Turtle is a better grappler than what I've seen from Petrosyan here.
Okay. So after he beats Jung Young Park, right, he takes on Joe Selecki in a grappling match in the UFC's Fight Pass Invitational to a draw, okay? Joe Selecki fights in the UFC at 155 pounds, okay? Then he fights Cody Steele. Cody Steele's 1-0 in MMA. He is a very good grappler in his own right, and he generally fights at about 155 to 170 pounds. Not able to finish those guys. He's not some world-class Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. He's just a big guy. He's a big, physically strong guy. Right. Armen Petrosyan, didn't matter if he's a black belt or not. He just needs to create space, back away, and when he clips him, he's not an idiot like Jung Young Park. He's not going to miss on the follow-up shots. He's going to sleep him. So I wouldn't feel confident in the slightest bit if Petrosyan was the favorite. I would. So this is a dogger pass fight. It's going to get greasy. It could go either way.
Shoey
And I'm
bet.
going to have the underdog in this one spot. So
Shoey, are you gonna
I'll back the plus 140 here.
Are we gonna shoey bet this one or what?
You want to shoey bet this one? Yeah, we'll shoey bet this one. Why
Shoey
not?
bet
You
this
got
one.
you
It's
got
very rare that
RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez, and I'll take Armen Petrosyan fighting in Dagestan. You're whack. You turn your back on Makhachev in the main event, saying you don't like 9-1. Are you kidding me, man?
No, I just
back
think
up on Armen Petrosyan.
Maybe 1 out of 10 times Bobby Green clips him. Maybe not. We'll see where that line goes as the week goes on. But it's very rare that I get the chalk in our shoey bet, so I'm pretty fired up about that. Moving on down,
enjoy it while you can.
Moving on down, we've got Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Rong. Bahamondes is a minus 210 favorite. Rong can be had for plus 175. Bahamondes last time out, there was a lot to like from that fight. Obviously, everyone's gonna remember the 5 seconds left in the fight, spinning back kick that put Roosevelt Roberts just into another dimension. The wheel kick, sorry, put him into another dimension. But he stopped 12 takedowns during that fight. He's obviously incredibly massive for 155 pounds. I had faded Rong against Rodrigo Vargas in his UFC debut. I thought that Vargas would be able to exploit his grappling deficiencies. Rong comes out in his next fight and gets the dub against Brendan Jenkins, who came in on like ridiculously short notice. Utilized his wrestling. The wrestling looked pretty good when he's able to get top position. But based on what I saw from Bahamondes against Roosevelt Roberts, who wasn't exactly entering the pocket or entering for those takedowns all that well, but the fact that he was able to shuck him off 12 times for those takedowns. This stays on the feet. I like Bahamondes quite a bit. Minus 210, I think we're probably around pretty fair here. But I think Bahamondes by decision may be worth a look, and hopefully he doesn't get a spinning back kick knockout in the last 5 seconds. But yeah, Bahamondes by decision. I haven't bet it yet. It's something I want to talk through with you first, see where your head was at. But plus 150 DraftKings Sportsbook. And it seems to be climbing a little bit across the market, so there's no rush to jump on it right now. What's your take here?
Yeah, Bahamondes. I was the guy that was holding a Bahamondes by decision ticket. And with 5 seconds left, he kicked him in the face. So Thanks a lot for that. No, I mean, he looked good. I think he looked career best, but he's still only 24 and he still makes a lot of mistakes. So what I like about him is his pressure and his volume game. He just seemingly just keeps throwing. His last 2 fights alone, what you saw in the Roosevelt Roberts fight, he goes out there, he lands 105 significant strikes. The fight prior against John McDessie, which he lost, he lands 112. He's only going to be getting better and better. And again, with this kind of volume and his stature, 6'3" at this weight class, he's going to fill up his frame and he's going to be a problem. The other thing with being 6'3" and being this large is I think that is a big part of his takedown defense. He's big and he's hard to take down. Edson Gomez had tried 0 for 5 on Contender Series. John McDessie never shot one. Roosevelt Roberts. Say it again.
That Gomez guy was like basically a taxi driver, though. Like, I don't know where they found that schmuck.
Awful, absolutely awful, and no good, right? He tried to pull the fight to the ground. It just wasn't going to happen. And Roosevelt Roberts, you're right. He goes 0 for 12, but his wrestling looked soft. It looked really weak. He never dropped levels. He never drove through. It was mostly just like push him up against the cage and like try to flick him to the ground. He did clasp his hands a couple times, but it's hard to get Bahamondes off his feet because he's just got so much leg to him. So all of that results in a problem, right? But at the same time, John McDessie's 5'7", so he's given up like 8 inches in the height department to Bahamondes, and he touched him up whenever he wanted. And Roosevelt Roberts with his jab, especially in the first round, that jab it never missed, right? So he doesn't fight the most defensively sound. He's in your face. And I guess at minus 210, my worries are that Zurong does crack pretty hard, and I think he'll just throw 1 or 2 and then try to pursue the takedown. He seems to be living by the takedown. His initial fight with Vargas, he did score 3 takedowns. The problem is that he stared at him. He got caught in the bright lights, man. He was just staring at Kazula Vargas and didn't throw anything. Vargas triples him up on the striking numbers, beats him. His next fight with Brendan Jenkins, he looked so much better, man, so much more comfortable. 6 takedowns, doubled up Brendan Jenkins on the striking numbers, scored a knockdown, mostly Jenkins being an idiot. Jenkins threw two spinning back fists. One of them got him dropped. The other one, he just fell to the floor and allowed Zurong to get on top. So Jenkins fought like a short notice bad fighter, and it allows Zurong to look good. Bahamondes is probably not going to give him those opportunities. He's not going to throw stupid techniques, although he could still spin and throw something. But I think he's just going to mind his P's and Q's, stay to the outside, and chop him away with the leg kicks and the superior volume. Rong's at American Top Team now, and he's only 21 years old. This kid likely does have a very bright future, but because he's still only 21 now, I don't know that I could trust him now. Bahamondes, when I watched him against Makdessi, I was like, oh, this kid's way too green. But he's super young as well. They're going to get better, and he appears to be getting better. Rong appears to be getting better. I think Bahamondes at this stage is just a little more developed and should get the victory. But at minus 210, that's not a reflection of how close this fight is likely going to be. And your assessment of decision, I think, is very accurate. So if you've got a close competitive decision, does minus 210 feel great? No. But that's why you're going to improve the Bahamondes by taking Bahamondes by decision. And that I do agree with, Paul. So I got the same pick.
Hoops fans, the latest offer from DraftKings Sportsbook is too good to pass up. I'm talking between the legs, 360 windmill good. New customers can bet $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also bet on the NBA with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DOP. Bet just $1 on any pro basketball team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code DOP at DraftKings Sportsbook.
We got Josiane Nunes taking on Ramona Pascual. Minus 220 Nunes, plus 180 Pascual. I remember watching Pascual at Invicta, her last fight against Shamir Pashewa. And then I rewatched it again. My God, man. Like, that is not UFC level. A lot of her other fights, I in fairness, I haven't actually seen them. She looked great in that spot, but like Shamir Pashewa comes into the UFC and she gets absolutely flatlined by everyone. Josiane Nunes is like 5'2" bantamweight. She's very, very small. She's obviously super, super stocky. She kind of reminds me of like female Lineker. She's like moving forward, just hammer chest. I don't know if she's got that Lineker chin, but she's super, super aggressive. And that's the reason why you have a women's MMA fight lined at over 1.5 rounds, minus 130, under plus 100. Like, they're expecting the bodies to hit the floor in this fight. I like Nunes to win. I think the level of pressure, power that she brings to the table, if she can maintain that pace that she had against Bia Malecki, I think she's going to pose a lot of problems for people that won't be able to take her down. I didn't see all that much from Pascual in the limited tape I did watch of her. I mean, it was against, the Pashewa. That's just like, I don't know what to really read from this. Like, she should be winning this fight. I didn't really take very much away from it. It'll be very interesting, too, because I believe Pascual, she started fighting when she was 27 years old. She's 33 now. And she hasn't made bantamweight since 2019. So that should definitely, take note of that as well, because we'll see how easy the weight cut is for her at this stage of her life. Nunes for me, but like the Nunes by knockout prop is like plus 100. Like the books are very, very savvy to the fact that this is a high finish rate type of women's MMA match. So I'm probably going to avoid the situation altogether. What's your take here?
Yeah, honestly, I had never heard of Ramona Pascual until her last fight as well against Shamir. And a buddy of mine hit me up being like, it's free money, take it. So we did. I researched her for then. And yeah, she's just got a very strange story. Like you, wow. Okay. So first of all, she's from Hong Kong and she's like the first women's fighter from Hong Kong. So she's like a big star over there. They run tons of articles about her. but she attends university in like LA and then goes back to Hong Kong, gets into martial arts training later on in life, takes her first fight literally months after she began training, and wins her first 2 fights, like handpicked opponents. Jennifer Leigh Norris, she gets armbarred in the 3rd round. She fights Janae Harding. Well, Janae Harding, we would later see in Bellator, right? And, someone, Eugene Behrman's like cousin or something. So gets good training in. She looked out of it, man. She shot some bum takedowns, wasn't able to get the fight to the ground, flopped over. Janae Harding starts smashing her with elbows. She curls up. Janae Harding takes him out, ground and pounds her. That's it. So at that point, she rebounds against an 0-0 opponent and then leaves MMA and goes to like Phuket. She starts training at Phuket Top Team and just takes a run of really low-level Muay Thai fights. She switches to Muay Thai, builds up this Muay Thai resume. At some point, she gets back into MMA, beating a 4-5 opponent and then an 0-0 opponent. And then she was supposed to fight Courtney King on that Invicta card. Courtney King would have been a problem for her, or at least more problems than Shamir Peshewa. But Peshewa was a business owner, takes the fight on like 2 days, shows up, gets beat up the way you would expect her to. Bad look. Like, oh man, she's 33 years old. She does train at Syndicate MMA, but she's only been at Syndicate MMA for about a year. I mean, prior to that, she was training exclusively in Hong Kong, and basically she would split times between Thailand, where she would do some Muay Thai training, and then Hong Kong, where she has like a small little jiu-jitsu academy. So I just don't really think she's all that good. And then with Josiane Nunes, a couple of good things going for her. So she's initially supposed to take on Yeon Wu, right? Wu pulls out and she gets Jennifer Gonzalez. Jennifer Gonzalez pulls out and Ramona Pascual. Now you need somebody on a week's notice who's local to the Las Vegas area. Ain't this some shit? She trains at Syndicate MMA. She's moving up a weight class to take the fight. She's just there. She's just the warm body that happens to be there. There's nothing deserving about her necessarily being in the spot. They just need somebody, and she's got her hand in the air. And with Josiane Nunes, dude, 5'2", if this girl can keep the pace up, she's going to be a problem for a lot of people. She's got a nuclear left hand, dude. Like, she's got no neck to her. Her head is basically like at the top of her shoulders, and then her arms are on a high guard, and she lines you up with a bullet of a left hand.
67-inch reach somehow for that small frame, too. So her arms are just like unnaturally long for...
And she has no jab, and she's not looking to establish a
according
jab.
to Tapology, because Pascual doesn't have official stats. According to Tapology, she's got a 1-inch reach advantage here as well, which is insane.
Yeah, which is insane. And the way she fights, it's like reach advantages aren't going to matter because she just kills the entire gap right away. I mean, she herself just enters the pocket and throws, but in a small cage, it's hard to get away. And running from her would be very tiring because backpedaling is just very tiring in its own. You look at her wins: 1st round knockout, 2nd round knockout, 2nd round knockout, 2nd round knockout, UFC debut against Bea Malecki. She's giving up 7 inches of height and reach, and it does not matter. And she folds Bea Malecki, who is supposed to be a European Muay Thai champion, like made her look silly and bombed on her. But that's kind of what she does. It's her style. She's able to do that. So if for whatever reason Pascual, let's say, was able to survive a couple rounds, am I for certain that Josiane Nunes can keep up that pace? No. Do I anticipate with that style that she would get tired? Sure. But she also might be a poor version of Jessica Andrade, who can just keep coming at you and throwing. John Lineker, they can keep coming at you and throwing. Like, sometimes it seems reckless, but it's their style and they make it work. Bea Malecki is a better striker than Ramona Pascual. Bea Malecki, they're both very inexperienced, but it's probably similar level, and she absolutely toasted her. The fight before that, which you can watch against Quizia Zabonik, again, it's a 4-0 prospect. Before that, Diona Barbosa, 3-0 prospect. But she melts right through them as well. There's a lot that you could like about this girl. Taking a fight against her on short notice doesn't seem like the best avenue. But with a current line of minus 220 Josiane Nunes, the only thing keeping me from heavily investing in it, can you guess it, Paul? Women's MMA, because ain't that up, bitch, gets me every time. I have a bad streak betting women's MMA because what I think is going to happen doesn't. So I am taking Josiane Nunes. I think she backs her up. I think she has a lot of success. If she gets the knockout, great. If not, she'll win on the scorecards. But the old W right before the MMA usually ruins my day.
Yeah, I was thinking about her by knockout, but yeah, it's already minus 110 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Do I think that that's how it plays out? Yeah, but I was hoping for a little plus money on on that action, and they're pretty wise to it across the board right now. All right, moving on down, we've got Perez Ziam taking on Terrance McKinney, -120 Ziam, +100 McKinney. Who you got here, buddy?
Yeah, I honestly thought Terrance McKinney would probably be the favorite when the fight got announced, and I'm thinking dog or pass situation, probably throw a couple bucks on Francis Ziam, and then when the line got open, it was pretty much even, and it sat pretty much about even the entire time. So I don't think anybody can get a really strong lean either way, and it's tough to get. Terrance McKinney at his best, super explosive, super dynamic, capable of great things. There's just a lot of question marks in his game. I mean, we'll go back to what's relevant about him, right? So he finished 7-second win, Bobby McIntyre, first round submission, Sharon Spain, 43-second submission. Then he gets his Contender Series fight against Sean Woodson. McKinney's super explosive, man. He has wrestled. He's got an excellent entry, good blast double leg. He puts Sean Woodson, the boxer, on his back and does a really good job in the first round. In the second round, he completely gasses out, man. Like, he's done in there, and Woodson's so tall, it's a step-in knee right up the gut. The count is a flying knee and just knocks out McKinney. Tough goes. Very next fight against Derek Minner, he gets the easy money takedown right into a triangle choke, 57 seconds in the first round. The very next fight against Derek Sanders, 16 seconds. Next fight against Tonino Gavino, 17 seconds. Next fight against Michael Ortiz, 1:12. And then his debut against Matt Frivola, who's known to be chinny, in 7 seconds. So
he's himself jumping off the cage.
Yeah, and then you haven't seen him since then. So, but he hasn't fought beyond 2 minutes since the Sean Woodson fight. And he's shown a ton of dynamic power and great wrestling and just great athleticism. We know he has that. We know he can do that. But I would think that old habits are going to form. Like, if he doesn't just go out there and get a quick victory, he's probably going to get tired. That type of movement, that type of explosiveness, that fast twitch muscle, it's not usually for guys that can grind for 15 hard minutes. And I'm kind of thinking he falls into the same category. Franz Ziam, meanwhile, because I'm thinking, well, what if he gets quickly submitted? Well, he shows a loss to Hao Shin Wu by submission and a one to Viskan Magomedov. So he's 19 years old in those fights. He's just like a little kid, man. And since then, the dude's done an excellent job of just shoring up his game. He's another French fighter that spends a lot of time out of Bulgarian top team, working with a lot of stout wrestlers. And you do see his wrestling game kind of getting a little bit better. The fight with Don Madge, at least he shows some durability. It was striker versus striker. Madge ended up having a better ground game than expected. But his fight with Jamie Malarkey, I scored it for Malarkey, by the way. Dude, Malarkey gets takedowns all day, and Ziam makes some work. Good up game, stuffs the takedowns. Whenever he creates space, he's an infinitely better striker than Jamie Malarkey, who I'm actually very fond of. His next fight with Luigi Vendramini, he looks as good can get for the first two. He's minding his P's and Q's. He's not aggressive. He doesn't push the issue. He doesn't look for the big shot. Everything he does is very lackadaisical. I don't love that about guys, but he seems very much in control. He wins the first two. And then the third round, oh shit, dude. He gets dropped, he gets taken down, he gets dominated bad by Luigi Vendramini. And now you get this fight. So my problem with Ziam is the fight with Jamie Malarkey, he looks good in the third round. Cardio's on point. The fight with Vendramini, he's tired in the third round and he's hurt, right? What version am I going to get? Because I need the version that's got a deep cardio. Because the version with the deep cardio probably gets taken down by McKinney early. McKinney's going to try to submit him. He's going to try to land some ground and pound. But if he doesn't finish Ziam in the first round, and Ziam can come out fresh in the second, keep this fight standing, he's gonna chop him away. He's gonna chop him away, and I think he's gonna clip him with something at some point. But this is probably a much better fight to just bet live, because if Ziam gets beat up bad in the first round but doesn't get finished, you're gonna get a big plus money tag on him, and he's still gonna be live. McKinney's gas tank is a problem. But I'm not also super fast to run and bet against McKinney, because let's be real, dude. The dude's got dynamite. Like, he could finish you at any point. He could make some magic happen, and he is well-rounded. But the problem with being well-rounded is you can have wrestling and you can have striking. The guy's submission defense definitely needs some work, but cardio is the biggest proponent of the game. You can't be well-rounded without that one thing, and I don't think he's got it. So
I'm not
maybe
sure
you want to pass on this one.
I'm not sure Ziam has it either, though. From that Vendramini fight in round 3.
Could be right, dude.
Especially if it's a high-paced fight. Terrance McKinney comes out absolutely just gets after it from the opening bell, as he did against Frivola, as he has in a lot of his fights, as you went through every single one of them earlier on in his career. I grabbed the early under on this one, under 2.5 rounds, -123. I see it's like -150, -165 in a bunch of spots. I'm trying to figure out the other ways to get into it. My big question is that maybe Ziam's not exactly like a potent finisher. That is a bit of a concern for me. I could definitely see Ziam winning a decision in this fight. That's how I lose my under 2.5 rounds. But if McKinney keeps the pace that we see early in his fights, like there's a reason why I had so much money on him against Matt Frivola last time out. It's like this guy's all action until he dies or his opponent dies. I'll lean towards McKinney just from absolute just maniac violence early on. But as I said, I'm on the under 2.5 rounds, minus 123 earlier in the week. It's getting juiced up to, like minus 150, minus 165 right now. Don't love it nearly as much at that price, but I may add something else to the under 1.5 rounds because McKinney, I earmarked him coming into the UFC as just a guy who is going to be a all action early unders guy. Just jammed as much as I could at fight doesn't go to decision, under 2.5 rounds, under 1.5 rounds, and the fight was over in 7 seconds. I, gave myself a little bit of a pat on the back there, but I could totally see, the under not coming into play here if Ziam just is able to maintain range and pick them apart from range. All right, moving on down, we've got Jinh Frey taking on Hannah Goldy, minus 180. Frey plus 155 Goldy. I'm not sure if this is on Fight Pass, Cody, but this fight puts the pass in Fight Pass. Do you have a hot take here? Because I don't.
Yeah, there's just really no world that exists that I want to bet Jinh Frey at minus 180. Like, I can see her winning this fight on the basis of she looked a lot better in her last one against Ashley Yoder. And she's on a 2-fight winning streak for the first time in 5 years. So maybe ever so slightly at age 36, Jinh Frey is putting it together. But yeah, my biggest issue with her throughout the entirety of her career is super low output. Like, she just doesn't throw enough standing. It's very, very low. And how are you going to win a fight if you're just not landing anything? So you look at her first couple UFC fights. Her fight with Kay Hansen, she lands 26. Her fight with Loka Bume, she lands 26. Her fight with Gloria DePaula, she lands 24. That last fight with Yoder, she landed 88 significant strikes. It's actually more significant strikes in one fight than she had previously landed in a full 3-fight UFC run. So I think she probably got the memo at some point. I need to let my hands go. Is a good striker, needs more volume. On top of that, the Gloria DePaula fight, she takes her down twice, and when she's on top, she got pretty good top game. Like her husband, Doug Frey, for the longest time, he's a BJJ black belt out of Texas. This girl's well equipped to use grappling. It just has to be the right opponents. And when they give her these low-level opponents, she can make it work. That's what I see against Hannah Goldy. Hannah Goldy's got better volume, right? From the fights that we've seen from her, she's capable of going out there and putting up numbers. The technique leaves something to be desired. She has a 61-inch reach. So, she comes up short on a lot of these punches. But, of course, on the Contender Series, she landed 141 against Callie Robbins. Okay, that's good. Loses to Miranda Granger, not so good. Loses to Dana Balbita, probably not so good. And the fight with Emily Whitmire, she throws up an armbar from guard, which is something that's known to happen in women's MMA, Paul. But here's the problem with that Whitmire fight is that takedown that Whitmire got with, but she actually took her down twice. Like, she just fell right over. She has absolutely no takedown defense, and standing, she's wild and reckless and just with volume. Jinh Frey is a better striker, more tight, more technical. Her volume appears to be heading in the right direction, so she'll be able to keep it competitive enough, but she just needs that takedown.
Yeah,
that takedown will be there.
Should be way better.
And once she gets the takedown, it's not going to be an armbar from guard, right? The armbar from guard is not going to be there. It's going to be her pressing down on her, holding her down, and quietly banking in rounds. And that's the way Jinh Frey's been winning lately. She just banks these rounds by just staying a little bit ahead of the opponent. And I honestly think that's how it's going to play out here as well. Again, I sound like a broken record because there's a lot of women's MMA fights on this card, but could it go south? Of course it could go south. And it's minus 180 for Jinh Frey. Like, give me a break. But that is the pick, Paul. That actually is the pick.
Yeah, it's the pick for me too, but I'm not touching it at minus 180. Let's just move on at this point. Jonathan Martinez takes on Alejandro Perez, minus 240 Martinez, plus 195 for who I like to call the Weasel, Alejandro Perez. Check out his weigh-ins because he's always up to some sort of antics trying to get into his opponent's head in every single one of his fights. I feel like initial reaction to this one is this seems a little bit wide for Jonathan Martinez. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I got mixed feelings on it as well. Like on one hand, it does feel a little bit wide for Jonathan Martinez, but what's there to not to like about Jonathan Martinez? And it comes down to that Davy Grant fight. Because outside of that, kids look good, man. I mean, the Andre Ewell fight, robbery, right? He loses a split decision, but he outlands him. He backs him up. He should have won the fight. Is what it is. Texas judges can't trust him, especially that UFC 247 card. Total embarrassment. But after that, big win over Frankie Saenz, knockout, solid wrestler. Beats Thomas Almeida, people didn't really see coming. Looks good. And the Davy Grant fight, where I thought he won the first round. He hurt Davy Grant. He was doing some good work, and then he got clubbed by that overhand left. But his last fight against Zayed Lavashvili, I fell for the trick. I just lost to Davy Grant. Now he's taking on a pretty tough Georgian fighter. Murad Davashvili's telling people the dude can wrestle, which apparently was a huge hoax. And Martinez is he's pretty sound, man. I mean, he's out of Factory X Muay Thai. He does kind of everything well. His striking's good. His grappling's okay. And his takedown defense has actually been pretty sturdy to this point in his career. Shows takedown defense 72% in the UFC, but hasn't been taken down. He's been taken down once in the last 3 years, and against Frankie Saenz. I thought against Zviad his last time out. Again, takedown defense stood out there. He's pretty big for the weight class. He's got good striking. He should be able to have his way against Alejandro Perez. Perez, meanwhile, is this week's Gabriel Benitez, in my opinion. There was a time coming out of tough Latin America. This guy's serviceable, good gatekeeper type, has good success, trains at AKA, and gets a favorable rub. But he's not the same guy he used to be. Now you're seeing him fall on the other end of a couple results. His last three in particular, he gets the Cody Stamann fight, he gets outworked, didn't look good whatsoever. The Song Yadong fight, he gets knocked out 2 minutes into the first round. Whatever happened to his cast iron chin, right? His durability is starting to fade. His striking's not all that good. And then the Johnny Eduardo fight, he lost the first round. He got beat up in the first round by Johnny Eduardo and did not look good. And then in the second round, he took Johnny Eduardo down and submitted him.
That's what Johnny Eduardo does, though.
Right.
Johnny Eduardo
That's
always
not
looks
all that
great
surprising to me.
Yeah, Johnny Eduardo always looks kind of great until the first round. We've talked about it on the show before. It's pretty clear that Johnny Eduardo bets on his opponents to win in round two.
Right,
we've went over this before.
Right. Yeah, and then Johnny Eduardo is known to do that. But again, when you look at Alejandro Perez, he's got UFC takedown accuracy of 23%, right?
Yeah.
He's never landed more than one takedown in any fight in the UFC, and he's had
these stats are
3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's had 12 fights in the UFC, and he's never completed more than one takedown in any of those 12
The volume
UFC
I'm just looking through his stats right now, and the volume is
He's got low
absolutely
volume.
Deplorable. It's tough
So
winning.
what do you think's going to happen here? He's going to stand at the
It's tough
outside
winning
with low volume,
decisions
no
with
wrestling.
50 significant strikes. And 50 is the ceiling for him. Yeah, I guess
Martinez, meanwhile,
you know what? The line
along.
probably does make sense, to be perfectly honest here.
Yeah.
Martinez wins likely by volume, but then you start thinking, can I play Jonathan Martinez by decision? It's just Song Yadong absolutely shut his lights out in 2 minutes into the first round. So maybe we can't really trust on the Weasel's durability anymore either. Tough scene.
Yeah, durability, it could be a problem. I just think Martinez, he's 27, so we know he's a better striker. We think he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns. He's got the better output. He's got the better durability. He should win. The one thing that I'll leave you with, and we'll pass on this fight, is this is another fight you want to watch the weigh-ins. So his fight against Andre Ewell, he made weight for that one. His fight with Frankie Saenz, he came in at 140 for a bantamweight fight. Missed weight by 5 pounds for bantamweight. The next fight against Thomas Almeida, they forced him up to 45, and he came in at 146. And then since then, he's made weight his last two. But one has to wonder that Davy Grant fight, maybe he got knocked out because he had a bad weight cut. It seems like he struggles to make weight, and his face is always gaunt at weigh-ins. So maybe just watch weigh-ins before you lock it in. But yeah, I got to think that I agree with the line as well, and I think Martinez wins the fight.
All right, moving on down, we got Ramiz Brahimaj taking on Michael Gilmore. That's Michael Eal. What a weird spelling. And Gilmore spelled the wrong way. This guy's just a total mess. But so Ramiz Brahimaj, minus 400 favorite. Gilmore is plus 300. Went back and watched Gilmore versus Petrosyan. It's not great. It's not great, but he does have some pretty decent leg kicks and caused some problems for Petrosyan in the first couple of rounds, particularly in round two. He was causing Petrosyan some serious problems. But yeah, the grappling isn't great. This guy is what, like 34 years old. This is the final product, basically, for what we've seen from him. And clearly, if you get him to the ground, his grappling isn't great. You know, Gilbert Urbina was able to submit him on the Ultimate Fighter. Petrosyan, round 3 is like, it was starting to get a little bit dicey for him. He gets him down to the ground, absolutely dominates him, gets the finish in round 3. It's just a matter of Brahimaj. How early does he secure that takedown? Because when he secures that takedown, I think he's going to find a submission. And I think he's probably going to find a submission. It's going to look a lot like Brahimaj's best performance, which is against Palatnikov, where literally opening bell, goes across, takes down Sasha Palatnikov, and just styles on him from top position. That's probably what happens here. Obviously, the big question mark with laying a minus 400 on Brahimaj in this situation, though, is he's taking this fight on incredibly short notice. Michael Gilmore was supposed to take on Johnny Parsons, and Brahimaj steps up and in. I mean, if you're Brahimaj, if you're his management team, you kind of look at this situation and you're like, this is an incredibly winnable fight. You know, we are coming off of a loss in our last time out. It seems like a good opportunity to get back on track. And we both, like, I don't know, did you have Brahimaj? I think I had Court McGee. I don't think I bet him, though. I was picked Court McGee against him. And it was because Court McGee basically doesn't get submitted. Very, very hard to take down and hold down. But Brahimaj's game plan should be pretty straightforward here. Get this guy to the ground immediately. Fish for the submission. But when you start looking at the props for this, Brahimaj by submission is already
That won't be great.
plus 100. It's just like, the jury's out. Yeah. Everyone knows how this thing is supposed to shake out. So that would be my play. Brahimaj by decision. But I wouldn't be shocked if he gets that top position and then he just like rains shots on him. So plus 100 doesn't exactly get me excited, but that's how I see the fight shaking out. What about you?
Yeah, no, I would say it's by submission. I mean, look at Brahimaj. He's got 9 career victories, right? All 9 of them are by submission. He has no knockout victories. He has 9 submission wins. When you look at Michael Gilmore, he's got 4 career losses. All 4 of them are by submission. He's actually got 2 amateur losses, one of them by submission, one of them by TKO. He's there for getting submitted for sure. If he gets taken down, he's in a world of trouble. The problem with Ramiz Brahimaj is that he seems to almost be like a one-round fighter. All of his fights, he fights for 1 round. And his wins are first round. That one made to the second. First round. Some of those are 20-second Kimura, a 24-second guillotine, a 36-second guillotine, a 55-second rear naked choke. So, like, yeah, he's capable of beating bums or putzes really quickly. When he doesn't get a first-round finish, his game most definitely falls apart. He gassed out against Evan Cutts. He gassed out against Justin Patterson. Evan Cutts, I give you a pass. Justin Patterson, I won't. It's a low-level win. Max Griffin, you get a pass on that one. He's a stud, and it's short notice, and this and that, your ear blows up. But, like, his wrestling looked atrocious in that fight, and he is no head movement. He just got boxed up, but you give him a pass because it's Griffin. Court McGee, it's tougher to give him that pass. His wrestling looked abysmal. In fact, he got taken down 5 times by Court McGee. He got boxed up. He got pressed backwards. He gassed out. He had pretty much nothing go right for him that entire fight. The one time he almost took McGee's back, it's like McGee just shucked him off like it was nothing. At that point, it's like, well, the best part of his game, which is his submissions, not even that great. Now, Court McGee's never been submitted outside of like an exhibition fight on The Ultimate Fighter. So, okay, again, it's a tough stylistical matchup taking on this old savvy veteran with a giant beard that's hard to submit. Okay, tough. But the writing's on the wall for Brahimaj whenever you're going to bet him, especially if you're betting him at like minus 400, that he could shit in your apple pie because he just doesn't have cardio. And cardio is the biggest weapon. It's what we need. But no doubt the management company said, listen, this is a very winnable fight. And despite the fact he just got beat up 6 weeks ago, this is a good chance to jump back in the win column. He's 29 years old, so he's not old. The fight with Court McGee, I think it was a good learning experience. Wasn't like he took a bunch of critical damage. And I think he probably went back to the drawing board and jumps back into this fight fresh. But is his cardio improved? Probably not. It's good that he just fought 15 minutes of Court McGee. That's good for the cardio. But I don't know that I'm sold on his ability to go. Now, here's the one issue with Gilmore. Ricky Miller submits him second round. Willis Black, first round. Randy Bettino, first round. Gilbert Urbina, first round. And then that Andre Petrosky fight, dude, he gave up his back a pile of times in the first round. He wasn't a bunch of rear naked chokes.
Great.
Yeah, and Petrosky just couldn't put him away. In the second round, Petrosky's tired, and dude, Gilmore's like a Taekwondo black belt. You know what I mean? Like, he knows how to throw punches and kicks. He just can't grapple.
Good. Yeah, for sure.
The leg kicks aren't bad. And so against a tired opponent that stands there, he's a warm body. He will throw. And if for whatever reason Ramirez doesn't finish him in the first or can't get the fight down beyond the fight, the longer it goes, he's going to work himself into a bad hole, man. So the pick is Ramirez, and I think Ramirez probably does submit him in the first round. But if for whatever reason Ramirez takes him down in the first and then is unable to put him away, and I think he's starting to fatigue a little bit, and this gets to a second round, yeah. I'm pulling the shoot, dog. I am pulling the shoot.
Yeah. I think I may bet the Brahimaj by submission plus 100. It's not great, but like that's really how I see it playing out. And then if I really want to get out, I imagine, well, maybe you don't even have the opportunity, because if Brahimaj's not able to get this fight to the ground, he probably loses a striking affair. It could get really, really ugly, but
Petrosky wrestled collegiately. Ramirez didn't, you know?
No,
Petrosky's
exactly,
actually an infinitely better wrestler than
this. But Brahimaj is the better actual BJJ practitioner by a long shot. Yeah. No, he's had the opportunities were there for Petrosky to get the submission. I don't think he really particularly had the skills. But yeah, no, if Ramirez is not getting the takedowns, this could get ugly really, really fast. Not overly impressed, but it is a good opportunity for him to get back on track. And finally, we've got Carlos Hernandez taking on Victor Altamirano, minus 135 Hernandez, plus 115 Altamirano. Who you got here, buddy?
Yeah, this is a good fight, man. This is a really good fight. You got two young prospects that got a very bright future ahead of them. Altamirano, he's 31 years old, but I mean, I think is he the LFA champion? Yeah, he's the LFA flyweight champion. He's got a couple decent wins under his record already. I think there's a lot that you can like about him. Flip side to Carlos Hernandez, you saw both these guys on the Contender Series. Mm-hmm. Both these guys won split decisions on the Contender Series.
Both of these guys struggled to stop takedowns on the Contender Series.
And that's going to be the name of the game here, in my opinion, right? I think they're both excellent strikers in that they throw a ton of volume. They're flyweights. They definitely land. Altamirano, you saw him against Carlos Candelario, 100 significant strikes landed. But he got taken down 5 times. His takedown defense most definitely left something to be desired.
Altamirano's takedown defense is some of the worst I've seen at the flyweight division. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like
it was pretty bad.
It was really bad. Really bad. He's able to get back up, and when his cardio looks good. And the one thing about him is that chin looks dynamite. Like, he was eating Candelario's best shots, and it was like it didn't even faze him at all. So both of these guys seem very, very durable. Both of them seem to struggle a bit with getting with takedown defense. Sorry, I'll let you finish before I say what I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've both shown that they struggle with some takedown defense. They're both good strikers. They both throw some fairly dynamic technique. I think that there's a good roster spot for both of them. But in the end, I felt that Victor Altamirano's takedown defense was just the worst of the two. And I think if both of them are going to come out and strike and keep it competitive, then a two is going to be able to just mix in maybe that 1 or 2 takedowns per round, every other round, to secure the rounds. And I think that's what Carlos Hernandez will be able to do. He's out of the VFS Academy. He's actually a training partner of Bahamondes, who's also on the card. And these guys have spent a lot of time with Izzy Martinez working specifically on the wrestling. Yeah, Rodriguez once upon a time spent a lot of time out of that camp. I think he's heading in the right direction. I bet him, not heavily, but fairly good enough against this Daniel Barres. And Barres is a shit-eating wild man. He throws caution to the wind, just heavy striker. Just came at him aggressively. And this kid stayed composed. He stayed smart. He was getting out muscled to the ground, but he had the better technique. And I thought I agreed with the split decision. Whereas Altamirano, he was getting taken down left, right, and center, man. It wasn't the best performance going. You look at some of his losses as well. He lost to UFC veteran Jared Brooks, who's an excellent wrestler. And same thing in that fight. He just got easy money takedowns over him and submitted him. Nate Smith should have been able to have sizable wrestling advantage. Just Nate Smith, just not all that good. So Altamirano is going to throw a ton of strikes. He's going to land a ton of volume. Maybe he has slight volume advantage over Hernandez. Hernandez, I think, is going to land the cleaner work, the crisper combinations. He also likes to double up, triple up in tight combinations. I think that'll be effective I think that'll look good for the judges. And then that mixing in of a takedown of his own every here and there, I think, is enough to persuade it. So 50-50 fight. It's close. I suppose the slight underdog is Altamirano, but my pick is Carlos Hernandez.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with too much. I actually already bet Carlos Hernandez minus 122. It's moving a little bit, obviously, in his direction. So, yay, CLV. You know, you can't pay the bills in CLV. It doesn't really matter if he doesn't get the job done. But I saw a lot of the same things as you. The biggest concern I had with Altamirano is that, in that Candelario fight, like his takedown defense was about as bad as it gets. I made a note for myself on this on the rundown here. I was hoping that maybe I could get a sneaky Hernandez by submission because on the regional scene, he has a bunch of submission wins underneath his belt. But they opened it up at like plus 400, plus 500. That's not nearly enough. I was hoping for like 8 plus 800 to plus 1,000. Clearly, I'm not actually getting that. But I think, I agree with pretty much everything that you said. I think the better strikes are going to be landed by Hernandez, and I have more faith in him mixing in the wrestling, getting some top control, and squeaking out some rounds. It should be relatively close, particularly when the fight takes place on the feet. But I think as the line grows, it's going to get up to like minus 150 or so by the end of the week. I think Carlos Hernandez is the rightful favorite. That's why I already jumped in on it. Once it gets past like minus 150, though, I don't know if I really get overly invested. Like I do actually kind of think that this is like maybe a 60-40 type of fight, a 65-35 type of fight. Like I'm not saying that, Carlos Hernandez is not by any means an absolute lock. I just thought at minus 122 when I grabbed it that there was some value there, particularly if he's able to, like, Altamirano's takedown defense looked so bad that I'm pretty sure just about anybody could land a takedown or two against him. You get those takedowns, get some top control, ride out some of these rounds. Hopefully he's up 2 rounds. We get into round 3, and that's all she wrote. Anyway, I'll just quickly rifle through what I've got. I've got McKinney versus Ziam under 2.5 rounds, minus 123. It's small. They're all small bets. There's one sprinkle. So under 2.5 rounds, minus 123 in Ziam versus McKinney. Hernandez, minus 122. Rodriguez by submission, plus 400, plus a shoey with you, pal.
Damn right, buddy.
I have Musasi plus Cirkunov versus Turman over 1.5 rounds. That's plus 128. Parlay. I'm going to continue to wait because it looks like the Bahamondes by decision is growing. So maybe a little bit later in the week, maybe after weigh-ins, I'll add Bahamondes by decision. That's how I see that fight playing out. But I think the line seems to keep growing, so I don't think there's really much of a rush in that. And Brahimai by sub, I like it, but we gave you all the reasons why things could get pretty dicey in that fight. We're less excited about minus 400, I'll tell you that much. Brahimai, if he's going to win this fight and make it look easy, it's take him down immediately and basically recreate the Sasha Palatnikov fight, because that's what he needs to do here. Things could get very, very dicey for him as a minus 400 favorite. Without further ado, kid, hit him with the PRP.
Hit him with the PRP. This week, the biggest issue is going to be who to put at the top of the ticket with Makhachev, because he's 9-1, so he's not doing anything. Who are you going to add with him? Who's your second biggest lock in the card? Might not exist. But we are going to go with Islam Makhachev. We're going to take Wellington Turman. I know, and think about that for a second, right? It's like last week's Parker Porter. You just really don't want to do it, man. If you don't have any options, then you got to do it. But and the other guy would be Tsarukyan, but we just broke the Tsarukyan fight down, and I told you at the end of it, I really wouldn't want to put him on a top ticket, right? So we're going to take Makhachev. That's a no-brainer. Wellington Turman's our dog number 1. I am going to take Jinh Kim. You could pass, or you could take the dog on that one. I wouldn't blame you. We're going to go Tsarukyan, Arman, Petrosyan, dog number 2. Going to go with Ignacio Bahamondes, Josiane Nunes, Ziam, who, by the way, I mentioned had been training for a Bulgarian top team a long time. He's at Sanford MMA now. Should help him out. We're going to go with Jinh Frey. Could you imagine using Jinh Frey on like your second ticket, man? What a greasy card this is. Jonathan Martinez, probably going to use him pretty high up. Ramiz Brahimaj, you're going to have to fit him in high up, but just don't love him. And then we're going to go Carlos Hernandez. Officially, we got 12 fights, only 2 underdogs. But that's not super uncommon. Last week, it was like 3 dogs hit. The week before that, I think it was 2 dogs hit. So you just got to make sure you're on the right side of that. If you're struggling, Paul mentioned he likes Gegard Mousasi. I, too, like Gegard Mousasi. I think other good pieces. Kassan Magomed Sharipov, obviously, he's a huge favorite, but is Zabit's brother, and kid looks pretty good, man. Jornel Lugo, who's minus 350 last night. I see he's like minus 430 now, so money's coming in towards him. He should be all over Brian Moore. I'm going to give Brett Johns another shot here, but you not throw him all the way to the top. This Frenchman, Davy Gallen. So this dude's a total badass, man. And he's cashed a couple big tickets. One for me, the Kane Musa fight at Bellator 267, where he just outworked him, good striking. But he knocked out Ross Pearson with a rolling thunder, like just before that. The dude has got excellent striking technique, and he's one of these guys that's live in pretty much any of his fights. I think there's a decent price being offered on him as well. Vladimir Tokov, he's going to run through Skatizi. This Gokhan Sarakam, he looks pretty good as well. You're taking a risk by taking Daraw Kelly because it's his pro debut, but he was an amateur standout. He's about minus 350. Again, I'm going to use him on some stuff. And then the last one, I guess, is co-main event, Liam McCourt. Liam McCourt's not very good. Now, Sinead Kavanaugh's not very good either, but she's out of SBG Ireland, which might be the worst camp.
And hey, she at least landed like a heater on Cyborg. Like she landed, what was that, a left hook?
Guns a-blazing.
She definitely went into the fire. She landed a good strike on her, but, by doing that, she ended up absolutely folding. McCourt, if memory serves me correct, like she's super, super tall. There really isn't much like power coming from Leah McCourt.
Leah McCourt, again, 5'8", that'd be tall for women's MMA, I suppose. But she was like a good judo player back in the day, like the under 18, the under 23 teams, like decent enough judo. Has a child, abandons judo, late starting to MMA, being a single mother. So she's very pretty. Bellator jumps to it. They sign her. She don't look very good, but this Janae.
You're breaking up. This show is brought to you by some internet provider.
Like she ends up winning the fight because it was we're talking about Oregon, got the wins there. So
your Wi-Fi is breaking up pretty bad.
Anyways, that's it for
your Wi-Fi is breaking up pretty bad on us here, so we might as well get out of here. Make sure to check out Cody's Twitter at CJ Saftic. He'll drop all of his Bellator parlays. Drop everything for the people because that's just what Cody Saftic does. For producer Pat Mayo and Cody Saftic, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.